Hello and welcome to episode 13 of Deadball Specialists. This week, as promised last week, we have a guest in Darren. So let's crack him onto the picture. Hello, Darren. Lovely to have you here, mate. We'll hand over to you to do a little intro yourself, mate. We'll hand over.
Thanks very much, guys. Cheers for having me on. I've passed the late fitness test and made it into the starting lineup. So pretty delighted. And at my age, there's no guarantees of getting into the stadium. So I'm Darren. I'm actually an Aberdeen fan, and I don't have any Premier League allegiance whatsoever, which I think is going to benefit the discussion today because I can kind of be like a slightly worse looking Mike Dean and just basically referee these two you guys' opinions from a Liverpool and an Arsenal perspective. But ultimately I do feel like that's my USP as a football fan, is I can be a bit objective about things. And but to give you guys some credit, I know you both are as well pretty good at seeing, not just coming at it from a partisan position. So yeah, looking forward to having a bit of a debate, and any excuse to throw a Scottish player into the mix, that's my specialist subject. So I'm very niche, but I've done my stretching, and my hammies haven't gone yet, so let me get stuck in.
So we'll be looking at the last weekend's games. So the Premier League's now all tied up. So this will be our last episode for a while until the new season kicks off. And we'll also be looking at Tierney versus Robbo. So who is the better player, if there even is a better player, I guess. I've been quite undecided on it. But we'll jump into the games. This week we're going to start by looking at the Leicester-Spurs game. Ahmed, I know you were pretty keen to jump in on this, mate, so I'll let you kick it off.
Yeah, I mean, what I predicted has come to pass. Again, 2 seasons in a row. Look, if you're a Leicester fan, you can't be too gutted. You know, you've just won the FA Cup for the first time. You know, it's a trophy. And top 4 isn't a trophy. But that's really got to leave a bitter taste in mouth, especially when you realise they were 2-1 up with like 20 minutes to go. You really think they could see the game out. I do think they were kind of robbed. They've had a couple of decisions go their way. So in the build-up to, I think, the equaliser, it was Harry Kane, basically the ball, deflected off his arm. But then the same thing happened with Jose Perez in the final. So, swings and roundabouts, I guess. I thought Schmeichel had a howler. No, so there wasn't an equal. No, sorry, that was the third goal for Harry Kane. But Schmeichel had a howler with the equaliser. He tried to claim it was a foul. I don't think it was a foul at all. He just tried to punch and just missed it. So, yeah, it's very disappointing. And once again, actually, Harry Kane showing his quality and just showing why. I read a stat somewhere that not only did he win the Golden Boot, he won the assist record too. Do you know the last player to do that was in the Premier League?
No, go on. Enlighten me.
Andy Cole for Newcastle.
Really?
No way.
Yeah.
I would have had Cole for an assist.
Well, exactly. Yeah. I mean, just got to show you. I think Andy Cole is a bit underrated. I think as a Premier League striker. But we'll come into great Premier League strikers when we talk about the City game. But yeah, overall, I mean, I did back Leicester to win. I thought they would win 2-1. They just kind of bottled at the end.
Yeah, I think so. For me, I was going to say, Mr. Prediction, you hammered it from the day one of the podcast when talking about who's going to be top 4, and you did say, so well done you. I am impressed that prediction's come to pass. VAR got it right. I know we talked about VAR a little bit last week, but it got it right for the penalty for Vardy's pen, because I do think it was a penalty. And like you say, Kane showing his class. The equaliser was so nice, like the way he watched out onto his foot and he connected so well with it. And I think this season, there's a lot of players that would have snatched at that chance, but it just shows that he's still got that little bit of class about him. 100% it wasn't another pen. I think going 2-1 up, they threw it away. I agree with you, absolutely. Leicester threw that game away, especially with Chelsea's result going the way it did. They really had it to do it themselves. They could have got into the Champions League on yesterday. So I think it was sad to see that capitulation. I think they massively, as soon as the third goal was in, Spurs just looked like Leicester rather looked like they give up a little bit. And I thought for the third goal, the move between Kane, Son and Bale was spectacular, by the way. And those 3 players, Spurs have still got a good outfit there, mate. I know Kane will go, but Spurs, I don't think Spurs' outfit is that bad. I think if they can get a good manager, there's enough there to take him to another level pretty fast with a few guys. Darren?
If they just sign the Leicester team, Rodgers and Leicester, then they've got a chance. I mean, I think I read today something about Kane being keen to go as well, and I think that would be trouble because, you know, as you say, the front three, if you've got Bale, Son, and Kane, you don't really, you know, you don't get much better than that. For they'd all be sought after. I guess maybe Bale to a lesser extent, but yeah, I tend to think that this could be a bit of a difficult spell for Spurs, to be honest. If they do let a lot of these players go, they're all at kind of apexes in their careers in the sense that, you know, if they're going to move, they have to do it now. Otherwise, you know, they're maybe going to be a little bit past the point. So, I think it's going to be an interesting one for them over the summer and how they recruit. And obviously, they've got to get the manager soon, so they get a full pre-season with them as well. Leicester, on the other hand, I mean, I guess maybe a bit harsh to say, but you kind of feel like the euphoria of winning the cup just maybe toyed with them a little bit, and you know, they're not at a level where they're used to winning in that way. I mean, 2 trophies in the last 5 years is probably is unheralded in their entire history. So I do feel like maybe there's a little bit of, I don't know, fatigue or just concentration lapsed a little bit during the match.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with any of that. I think that's spot on. Let's look at the Liverpool game, which I do have a lot to say about. Like 2-0 to Liverpool. Palace started that game better than us. Like the first 5 minutes, I was a bit afraid. I was thinking when Townsend had that chance to put them 1-0 up, we got a massive let off him, I think. He really should have buried that as well. And I think if they'd gone 1 up, it would have been interesting to see if we would have bounced back. I thought overall, Liverpool were the better team. We definitely grew into the game. And Reece Williams, Mr. Sitter. Mane and Salah actually brilliant throughout. I think it's the best game I've seen them play together. They bounce off each other really, really well. For me, what I want to talk about actually with Liverpool is Gini Wijnaldum going is a serious problem in my eyes. I think he is so important. I think all Liverpool fans know how important he is as well. And I think unless we get someone like Yves Bissouma from Brighton to come in and who I think could do the same role as Gini Wijnaldum and a similar type of club we picked him up, we picked Gini up from Newcastle, I think we would be in a good position. But I think if we don't replace him, we're in trouble next year in that middle of the park role. And the last thing I'll say is finishing third is hilarious because I didn't think we'd finish in the top 4 whatsoever. And the fact that somehow we managed to finish third ahead of Chelsea, beating Chelsea at any point is always nice for me. So, Darren, how did you see the game?
I mean, it's been impressive form, hasn't it? It's like the last 10 games, I think Liverpool have had the best form in the league. And I guess a lot of questions for just the centre-half pairing who've actually performed. For a lot of my kind of focus on Liverpool when I'm watching them, is like just the front three and thinking about how, you know, like how consistent they were for so long, and obviously they had a bit of a lean spell that culminated in the losses. It seemed like yesterday that kind of, I love that dynamic between Salah and Mane, where you can tell Mane just is so annoyed at Salah for the amount of times he doesn't pass him the ball, and it was quite ironic that he did set up the goal for him. And it's maybe like, it's almost a little bit, although it's a phenomenal finish to get third, it's like a little too late. You almost wish season could keep on going for Liverpool, because I think, you know, the momentum's there. And similar to what you say, the Wijnaldum situation, totally. I mean, that's a really on paper tough replacement. You know, there isn't like a wealth of like obvious replacements that I can think of. And you're right, if you're maybe going to go to somebody like Bissouma, for whom it's a step up, you've got to rely on hitting the ground, and hitting the ground running the first season's tough. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
Sure. Ahmed?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, things are looking pretty bleak in the weeks after Jordan Pickford's kung fu kick on your best player, basically. And just kind of, not only did that kind of decimate your defense, it decimated your midfield too, because you had to kind of cover. So you had, you know, two of the, like you've had two whole groups of the side that were kind of ruined by that, and things weren't looking good. But I always thought, they could sneak into the top four if they get a few running games. I didn't think they'll finish third. I thought they'd sneak fourth. But you basically just, did that as well. And by the way, it's thanks to that guy that you've been trying to get rid of for weeks now. Yeah. You've been touting him around Europe like some kind of I don't know.
I mean, really?
Traveling lady of the night. Yeah, he's literally been offering anyone, saying, "Hey, buy him. We don't want him. Let's raise the cash. Let's strengthen on that side. Mane's past it."
Pretending you're his agent, basically.
Yeah.
Not to that extent, but I have said it needs to freshen up, and one of them has to go. And I said originally that I'd sell Salah because you get more money for him, and therefore you could buy a better player in replacement. But looking back on that, I think I was incorrect, because Salah scores goals, and we'd rather keep the goal scorer than the player who's not contributing a lot of goals or assists right now. And look, Mane's been an incredible servant. I'm not taking anything away from him. I love Mane. He's a fantastic player. But I do think if we're going to sell to refresh that squad, it does need that. And maybe selling him would be the best of the three to go. I know you want to sell Bobby Firms, but Bobby Firms is our number 9 and he creates so much for everyone. So I think he can also play deeper in midfield or out on the wide. So he's so much more versatile than Mane. So
Mane's too good to let go. He's too good to let go. Listen, he's had a dip in form this season. He's not been himself. But, when push came to shove, he scored you the goals. You're in the Champions League now. Next season is a new season. You can, see then. I mean, maybe if he drops another poor season, then maybe, you could think about it. Get some cash from him, freshen up. But it's too early to write him off.
Okay. I'm not writing him off. I don't think he's past his best. I'm not saying that. But I do think that, I don't think he's going to hit the heights that he did hit at Liverpool now. I think it's a steady decline.
Well, it's a good thing the Wembley Sunday market is closed, because you'd have taken him down there and sold him to the highest bidder. So
£1 fish. No. Let's jump into the Villa Chelsea game, right? So, Ahmed, why don't you kick us off with that, mate?
Chelsea were the much better side in the first half. I thought Villa were very lucky. It was a kind of a fluky finish by Bertrand Traore, but I don't know. I just Chelsea got, you could tell Chelsea, even though they've got one eye on the Champions League final, they did look better. But I just feel that for Chelsea, look, job's done. They almost dropped out the top 4 the way that some of the results were looking. So that would have made Saturday's game even more special, I think. Kind of wish they did, to be fair, just to make that game more interesting. But yeah, no, I thought in the end, a draw would have been a fair result, but can't begrudge Villa. Villa were fantastic. Have been fantastic this season. I think they stayed up by a point last season. Strengthened, bought well, robbed us of Emi Martinez, who for me is a signing of the season. He's an absolute. Not only did he strengthen that was a key problem area for them at the back. He strengthened that position. Not only that, he strengthened the whole defense alongside Mings. Just a real calming influence. Great keeper, great shot stopper. So yeah, I think Villa are good value for their position, and Chelsea have got bigger fish to fry.
Darren?
Yeah, I can't take Chelsea seriously until they start playing Billy Gilmore more often. So. Every time I check the lineup, every time I see the lineup, I'm like, right, Chelsea, come on, you're not going to go anywhere until you start playing the Wonder Kid. But to be fair though, like I totally agree. I think Villa, the way what a season they've had, I would not have picked that to start with. I think Grealish has really shown, he's next level. Really, he's an international class superstar really for them, and it'll be interesting to see how they manage to keep a hold of him. To be honest, I get it with Chelsea, although a little bit in the sense that, with a big match coming up, there's maybe a little bit of that playing on their minds. The cup final, I thought they were kind of abject. Really, I was a bit surprising because Tuchel's just done such a good job since coming in there. Completely confident in his tactical decisions, changing things up, not afraid of a bit of rotation, but very much kind of so different night and day from Lampard, really. That's actually quite what Lampard was trying to do, but you can just see the levels that Tuchel's got. So in that result didn't massively surprise me, given what's kind of going on, and I just feel like Villa are a team that I like. I love my staples of English football. So like Villa, Leeds. I want to see a proper mid-table teams. They'll absolutely hate being called that, I would imagine, but they are just like central. You know, they're always going to occupy that slot. They're big, they're massive clubs. They should never have been in the Championship. Leeds have been 16 years down there, and Villa obviously were down there a little while as well. I even consider like Nottingham Forest and teams like that. It's like why are they not back in the Premier League? You know, the team's European pedigree and stuff like that. So it's good to see Villa having a solid season, but that's kind of where I expect them to be kind of ongoing.
I was going to say, I think Villa as a team, when they're aggressive and they're hunting the ball and they're countering, do look like a strong outfit. And I do agree, Grealish is the icing on the cake. Like, he is a different level. And the question then is always raised is how long do they keep him? And once he goes, how much of their creative force is lost through that? I agree that the Traore finish was pure luck, Ahmed. There was nothing to it. It was pure luck. He just missed it. It went in. I mean, Chelsea definitely piled on the pressure, and I think you're right. They were the better team overall. But Martinez is as resolute as ever, and I agree with you. I think he's up there with the buy of the year. He's been incredible. I think you were foolish to let him go. I do think. I think he's first. I think he's a first-team player, and I think obviously with you buying Leno, you can't then make Martinez number one. But really, Leno should have dropped you number two, and I think he should have become your number one.
I mean, Leno wants to leave now, so that's nice.
Well, there you go. I mean, I think, Darren, you're right. I think Villa will have a fine season next year. I think they'll finish maybe a bit lower than they did this year, maybe like 12th or 13th, depending on what happens to Grealish. Chelsea, on the other hand, I do think they'll lose this Champions League final. I think City are going to take that. And I would have loved it if they dropped out of the top four if Leicester managed to just hold their bottle. It would have been hilarious because they would have had two finals and been out of the top four. So like they would have been paying for Europa League. It would have been so sweet. And not that I had Chelsea at all. But yeah, so that was it for me. Let's look at the Arsenal game next. Now, I'm going to jump in on this one, Ahmed, because I've got a few things to say about Pepe.
Okay.
So Pepe with 2 goals, and I have been obviously slamming this guy.
Yeah, I've been slamming it.
And I still think personally that scoring 2 goals against Brighton the last game of the season doesn't really mean anything. In a game where both teams aren't moving position, nothing's going to happen. It's such a dead rubber game that it's not like I've never seen him score big goals in big games.
So if it's a dead rubber game, he should just not turn up then?
No, I'm not saying that. But he wasn't. In my eyes, the main force of your team that day. Partey was the best player in the park for you guys. I thought against Brighton, he was creative, dribbling really well, shooting really well. And if you get a lot more of that next year, the Partey that we should be seeing, because he is actually elevates your squad to a different level because he's incredible. It's like world class. Yeah. And this is the thing. I think Pepe's first goal was nice. It was instinct. It was a lovely touch and good volley. I think when he does that, he does play well. When he has time to think about things, I don't think he's a very, very good player. And I think Partey was your man of the match. I don't think Pepe was. I think he scored 2 goals. But I still think Partey was the one that should be highlighted in that game.
I agree. I think Partey was man of the match, kind of showing the form he showed at Atletico. The reason why he's not is because look at the manager he's playing under, right? Look at the manager he's playing under. And I know I keep going on about this like a broken record. Yeah. Well, you don't need to agree. Like I know I keep going on about it, but it's just like, how is this is a man that instead of playing Pepe, which we know what he can do, persisted for about 6 months with Willian up front. Willian has not made the last 3 squads, by the way. So he's clearly on his way out. He's signed a 2-year deal and he's on his way out. On that 1 year, he's basically ruined Reece Nelson. So Reece Nelson can't get into a squad, can't even make the bench, nothing, can't start ever because of Willian. So yeah, like I said, there is potential there in Pepe. There is a potential for a huge player in there somewhere. He just needs the right system, the right manager, or maybe even the right club. I'm not saying it's going to be us, but somewhere, somehow he will make it. But yeah,
how old is he, Ahmed?
I think he's like 24.
Yeah,
but he's still pretty young. Yeah.
He's still pretty young. He's still, his prime years are ahead of him. So, I have no doubt. I'm not listening. You basically wrote him off from time. And also, as well, you said he hasn't scored in a big game. He scored the winner at home to Manchester United. He scored, I think, the opening goal up at Wolves at that time, and Southampton when we were really struggling. We were sliding towards a relegation zone, mate. No one was scoring, and he popped up with a few important goals. So, yeah.
Darren?
It's funny. I was out for drinks with a pal yesterday, and we're checking our phones, and when we went, Arsenal are 7th, and this is obviously during the match, and we're both just like, that's fucking hilarious. Like, we're just like, 15. Yeah, we're like, how's that happened? That's probably the first point in the season you've been 7th as well, but obviously it never transpired. But there was a moment where it was just like, that's unbelievable if they finish 7th. I keep a good eye on Arsenal because I do like I like the history of the club and obviously Tierney, I'm a big fan of him, and I definitely feel like Pepe is someone that like you just want to be good because he looks like he's got the makings of a player in him. He looks like he can play with either foot. It looks like he's good at set pieces. Delivery looks good. Can move the ball well. And it's just that, like, I mean, it's just consistency. This is his 2nd season, isn't it? As well.
This is the
3rd season.
third season.
You kind of feel like 3rd. Holy shit! Okay, right. That's not too good. I feel like that's like someone in that position. You after 2 seasons, you're thinking, right, come on, you've got to be kicking on. This season would have been it. And don't get me wrong, great finish. Was it 5 and 3 scored or something like that? He's finished the season well.
Yeah, he finished the season well.
Yeah, which is good. And you just think, well, it's kind of next season or never, really, isn't it? At the moment, Arsenal aren't getting any of that money back for him if they transfer him. But I've really liked Smith Rowe this season. Obviously Saka's been amazing. Martinelli, I think, is going to be a player that he's still a bit young, but I saw his debut against Nottingham Forest, and I thought he looked unbelievable. And it's a weird. I feel for you because it's like Arsenal have got like the bones of a potentially sensational team, and then it's just like then there's just like almost this kind of combination of young, exciting, electric players, and then Deadwood. Maybe that's been too harsh.
No, that is a perfect description.
And I do feel like it's like, God, it could be so exciting. It could be challenging again for stuff if with the right recruitment. It's just is that gonna happen? What's your thoughts?
I couldn't agree with you more. For every Martinelli, there's a Willian. For every Tierney, there's a Kolasinac. For every Gabriel, there is a David Luiz. So you've got really exciting, good, actual young players, and then you've got like Deadwood, who don't need, shouldn't be there at all. I just don't see how that's going to happen because we've got Edu at the helm who's responsible for transfers and whatnot, and his decision making has been shocking. They've signed Cedric and Willian on big wages and journeyman play. They're looking at talking about signing Ryan Bertrand on a free, and I'm just like, we're going to be 7th, 8th, 9th mid-table for years to come if this carries on.
It's the thing I'd like to say, like, as an outsider, I always think there's like a Liverpool player and there's an Arsenal player in Man United, and when Liverpool in the 90s and noughties, everyone was saying about Hooli and we got given a lot of praise. I just thought he wasn't signing Liverpool players, and it was like, I feel like that's kind of where Arsenal are at the moment. It's like Arsenal have got like a tradition of like exciting kind of young European players coming through, also a lot of youth development as well. Yeah. And while that there's that element there, it's just when you hear Ryan Bertrand, no disrespect to him, good player, but he's not an Arsenal player, is he?
Definitely not. Nowhere near as good. I mean, is he better than Cedric? We've already got a Cedric. Why do we need someone like Ryan Bertrand? Like this never would have happened under Wenger. Like not a journeyman, but like a older kind of mid-level player coming on big wages. Just would never happen.
That's it. Like maybe 5 years ago, that was a good sign, and to build them.
Well, exactly. Yeah.
But now it's like, why would you bother almost?
Exactly.
Yeah. Let's move on to the City game. So 5-0 City. This is a demolishing. Kevin De Bruyne again was just classy as ever. We've talked about him a lot on the show, and you know how much I'm a big fan of his. I think Jesus' goal, the second goal, was lovely, and you could see he's trying to prove that he deserves a place in that team, right? Is what he tried, because I think with Aguero going, he's got a lot to prove. Because if City go out and buy a Kane, he becomes literally as and when we need you, that's when we play, because Kane's playing 90% of the games, right? If they don't buy Kane, I think Ferran Torres take that role anyway. I don't think Jesus will still be the number 9 there. Everton could have got back into the game and missed the penalty. It was a terrible penalty, by the way. It just seems like it was really, really bad. A lazy penalty. I hate seeing these penalties. It just seems lazy when penalties like that. But City looks in shit hot form, and I think the final's en route, and this is perfect for them to be as fluid as they were in that game. Foden again, composure, mate. 1,000,000%. This guy, I do not have enough good words for this guy. I sing his praises every week, and I still will continue to do so. He's just insanely good. And Aguero got 2 goals, mate. His first goal was just classy, classic Aguero, just like bit of space outside the boot. And the header was, again, Aguero in a nutshell. Not that he scores a lot of headed goals, but it's just the power, the accuracy, the placement. Everything was just a very Aguero-esque. Like, it was just it was a classy finish. And I'm going to miss him playing in the Premier League. I think he goes down as a Premier League great. He'll go to Barca, mate, and he'll continue to score so many goals over there, I think. So, Darren, I'll let you jump into this, mate, but how did you find the game?
Yeah, I mean, City are just, it's annoying. I don't want to like City. Like, I really don't. And I'm getting ever so close to just, you can't help but enjoy watching them play football. They're just a joy to watch. Delighted to see Aguero score a header. I thought that was quite a good way to bow out. You know, he's about 5'3" and he out jumps somebody. It was good. But I think I think you're right with the Champions League final. I think it's theirs to lose. Really, I can't see them not winning. The thing I like about the City team as well is there's not. It's maybe a bold statement, but I don't feel like there's not not reliant on one superstar. Okay, De Bruyne probably is the best player there, but I don't feel like if you look through the entire team, it feels just like a really well crafted and composed team rather than being like the Galacticos, you know, to that extent. And I feel like that's maybe Guardiola's biggest strength, is just knowing the composition of how to put players together to fit the way he wants to play and getting everyone to do that so well. Because they arguably don't really, other than Aguero and Jesus you're talking about, they don't always play with like a 9. You don't always have like an out-and-out striker. And you think if they sign somebody like Haaland or Kane, oh my God, it'd be really, really hard to beat. But I thought like 5-0 Everton could be a bit infuriated by that, but there's nothing really for them to play for. I don't even think there's a league position really like for them to challenge for. It was a dead rubber for them. It was for City, but it just shows you City used it as like a practice game for the Champions League final, I guess, didn't
they? Yeah, Ahmed.
Yeah, I mean, I thought City looked impervious, and that is a huge warning bell to Chelsea. If I be Chelsea, I'd be very, very afraid. But I've still got this kind of really, I don't know what it is. I said the same thing before they played Bayern in 2012. Bayern were looking just as impervious. Chelsea did not look good at all, and they ended up putting in a defensive masterclass and won. So, you know, I'm kind of a PTSD from that. So I'm not gonna say, you know, they'll do it. But yeah, I thought City were great. I thought De Bruyne's finish was fantastic. I'm so delighted for Aguero breaking that finish. One of the best strikers the Prem's ever had. But I want to touch on Everton slightly. I would say they're going to go down with us as the club who had the most disappointing season. If you look at the amount of money they spent, if you look at their first 11, you know, Luca Dean and Yerry Mina and obviously Seamus Coleman on the right and James and Allen in the midfield and, you know, and Dominic Calvert-Lewin, like that is like that team should be challenging for the top 4. I'm sorry, they should be. And they've looked good at points of season, but they've just looked like god awful.
But when we say they look good, right? they haven't looked as good as any of the top 4 teams. I don't think. Like for like a spell of 8 games, then maybe
No,
the odd game, like the odd game here or there, but like it's so few and far between. And I agree with you for the amount of money spent, the quality of manager they have, the quality of player they now have in that team.
Yeah.
They should have, they just. Well, I didn't capitulate, but their run of form was so bad in the last 7 or 8 games. It was. So
but they lost to Sheffield United at home and just just nonsensical results. I don't blame the manager at all. I don't think it's the manager's fault. I think it's the players' fault.
You said that before, yeah.
Yeah, it's 100% down to the players. And you're right. In individual games, they've looked fantastic. I don't remember them having a run, where they went on like 6, 7, 8 games, winning them all, winning comfortably. I don't remember that at all.
I think though, with fans back, it'll be an interesting time for them next year. I think they
a lot more pressure.
they have a lot more pressure, and they'll have a lot to live up to next year. Because I think you can't have 2 seasons with that much spend and a manager like that, and not be at least like 5th or 6th. Do you know what I mean? 5th or 6th. It's always going to be hard to break into that top 4 with the amount of money those guys have got as a fan base. It's a different level, I think, from everyone else. There is a financial elite, which is really Chelsea, Man City, Man United, Liverpool Spurs, in that kind of order, really, probably as well. Let's jump onto the West Ham game. So 3-0 to West Ham versus Southampton. Hammer's ending with a bang. I think they had such a good year this year, by the way. Moyes has really built something there. I know you're not Moyes' biggest fan, Ahmed. I think we've spoken in the past. You've not been his biggest fan.
But I give him
respect.
Credit.
Yeah.
Huge respect. He's proved me wrong.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the thing is, if they keep J-Lings, like Jesse Lingard from Man United, and they keep Declan Rice, there's no reason why they can not continue to be as effective next year, in my eyes. I think the difficult things happen when Jesse Lingard goes back to Man United, and I do think everyone's going to be hunting Declan Rice this year. I don't think he's going to walk away, because I think Chelsea could take someone like that really, really comfortably, because Jorginho is probably not the best. Kante's fantastic, but Kante can play alongside someone else. So them having Declan Rice, I think, would take Chelsea to a different level. I don't know if there's been any talk over that. I think Southampton should have been one up. Minamino, we've talked about in the past, but he has done the same thing again at Southampton, really. He's shown flashes, but it's not been consistent enough. And although I take him back at Liverpool, I am concerned that I don't think he has a place in that squad for us. I think Klopp regrets that buy, personally.
There was a place on the bench, no?
I don't think so. Not for the system that he plays. Not for. Klopp loves pace, and he likes aggression and hunting. And Minamino showed that against us in the Champions League. But since he's come to us, I've not really seen that side as effectively as I saw it for the Red Bull side that he's playing for.
Can Harvey Barnes play there for Liverpool?
Ooh,
he's had a good season at Blackburn, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Harvey Elliott.
Sorry, Harvey Barnes is Leicester. Sorry.
He's a Leicester player.
I thought you meant should they sign Harvey Barnes? I was like, yes, they should sign Harvey Barnes. He's a great player.
Fair. Yeah, totally. He was good.
But
totally.
No, Harvey Elliott, I think is an exciting prospect to come back into that team. It's going to be. He had a really, really big year at Blackburn, and I think if he comes back and keeps learning from players like Salah, and he will become a very, very good player. Hopefully, he seems like he's got all the makings for it. So let's jump on. Ahmed, how did you see the Hammers?
I thought they were I thought they were really, really good. I like Fornals. I've always liked Fornals as a player. I remember when he moved to West Ham, there was some raised eyebrows. Like, he's going to West Ham. Like, people would have thought maybe he'd have gone to, a club maybe higher up the table. So they've secured Europa League football. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So it's funny. I was talking to a West Ham fan. You guys might know him, Nick Cowan, at work. And I was complaining about being in the Europa League. I can't stand that competition. Yeah, I'd rather be nothing than the Europa League and this Europa Conference League. Yeah, enjoy your away trip to Chernobyl, lads. Like, yeah. But he was talking to her, and he was like, I would give my left arm to going to Europe, like away days, going out with your friends, staying over. Like it's it's a huge experience. I said, well, yeah. Now you think about it, actually, like maybe that's something that, being from a traditional like kind of top 6 side that kind of falls out. Maybe that's something that we take for granted, because we've been doing that for like 20, 30 years. It's lost in novelty to us. So I'm delighted for West Ham. And when they went into that stadium, the whole point of going into there was to get Champions League football, and they're one step closer now.
Darren?
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm really happy for them. I always like to see an underdog do well, and I feel like I didn't see that coming in any way, shape, or form from the start of the season, from Moyes being in charge, from the personnel they have. I mean, I went to see them, I think, a couple of times over the last few years, and I've always just thought probably the same as everybody else. When is Declan Rice? When's it getting picked from someone else? That will happen, and I think you're right. It probably will be this summer, and I think it actually might be Chelsea as well. I think that's a really good shout. So delighted to see them do well. Didn't understand that. What was the celebration as well that they did?
I don't know. I didn't
see that. When Declan Rice and Lingard had a good
Oh
celebration.
yeah,
Coordinated.
There is this popular song among the youth. I believe that is the dance associated with that particular song. I haven't heard. It was relayed to me by a young person.
Trying to recapture you, Ahmed.
Oh, it's long gone. I'm not recapturing anything, mate.
Right, let's jump on to the United Wolves game. So, again, I want to kick us off on this. I think Nuno leaves, Wolves are in trouble. Wolves are in real trouble.
100.
Like, getting rid of this guy. Well, not got rid of him. He left for his own accord, it seems more. So I think he come to the end of that journey with Wolves, which is fair enough, because I think they stopped kind of financially backing him where they needed to, and he kind of couldn't expand rather the squad as he wished to. So that's what I'll say on Wolves. Well, go back to United and say, you've been calling this guy a PE teacher, but United look like a serious dominant force now, and they look like they're attacking. In the sense of, I think their players are very, very good. I think they have some aspects of old United where they always are going to score a goal now, and they're better at keeping the ball. They've got a better squad. I mean, I think Mata goes this summer. Matic leaves this summer. Does Van der Beek maybe go this summer because he's getting no game time? Yeah. Cavani signed a new contract, which is massive for them because he is a goal scorer. You've still got Rashford. Greenwood looks fantastic. I do think Bruno Fernandes, like as you like to call him, he's still got like 19 assists this season, about 15 goals. So even though they're all penalties, he's still putting those things away. So that's important.
Like you said that.
He's still putting them away, though, right? So what we can do is, if you get the opportunity, you take it. Regardless how you got the opportunity, at least you're taking the opportunity. So you can't hammer him for that. And I think next year they're going to be competing.
Okay. First Deadball opinion of the episode so far. Hopefully Darren or someone's keeping a tally of this. Look, I have been hammering them. I've not been impressed. Let's not forget, back in, I think, December, November, they were down in mid-table with us, okay? Like, more or less.
They finished second.
And so, for me, that is amazing. But City did the same. City, I think, at the beginning were like, what, 5th, 6th?
Yeah.
And then they came back and stormed the league by a country mile. So, yeah, team's going to go on a good run of form and kind of, make their way up there. Unlike with City, though, I've not been impressed by United. I've not watched the United game and said that was total football. That was fantastic. But I can say that for lots of teams in this league. I can't say it for United.
They're also in the Europa League final. So
and they'll probably win that. But I don't know. I'm not convinced. And the biggest thing for me is that midfield of Fred, and I'm sorry to say, Darren, I don't want to offend you, McTominay. I just don't think
hit and leave right now.
I just don't think that that midfield pairing is quite good enough for Man United. I think they could do better. I think particularly Fred, because McTominay is effective, right?
Someone who's effective.
Yeah, but particularly Fred. I don't know what this guy offers. He's basically their Shaka. But I think Shaka is more important to us, not because he's good, it's because we're so bad. We look even worse without him. So yeah, I'm just not convinced about United, and definitely don't think they're going to kind of challenge next year. That's 100% not going to happen. They'll probably finish top 4 again. Hernandez will be up to his usual tricks. So yeah, 3rd, maybe 4th next season. As for Wolves, huge mistake getting rid of Nuno. This guy brought them up from the Championship, albeit like we said with George Mendes's contacts book, getting them all these kind of star players in. Finished 7th twice. But for me, the beginning of the end for Nuno is when he was, I don't know if it was forced to, but it was when they sold Doherty, who was their right wing back. Now, we've seen him at Spurs. He looks no good whatsoever at Spurs, but that's because they play a back 4. I think in the system they were playing, Doherty was fantastic, and the biggest thing for me was Jota. I've been kind of singing this guy's praises for the longest, even back in the Championship. He's an absolute gunman, and the fact that they sold him was a huge mistake. They never should have sold him. And I know Pedro Neto has come in on that left hand side.
He's fantastic, Pedro.
He is, mate. He looks really good. And imagine you had Pedro Neto on the right, or Jota on the or whatever, with Jimenez up front. So they've lost Jimenez to like a season-ending injury, lost Pedro Neto in the same way, and sold Jota. So that kind of just decimated their front line, I think.
Let me just quickly ask this to you, Ahmed, before we jump on to Darren's version of events. Do you think Jimenez will stay? Because surely, no Nuno, Jota's gone, Neto's great, but I think Neto could get...
Jimenez had his brain leaking out like not too long ago. He's in no position to be going anyway.
But he's still known as a world-class striker.
He is.
Teams do want him, so why can't
I would take him. I would take him in this state. Jimenez with a fractured skull is still better than Lacazette. So, I'm not turning him down. But would he want to leave? I don't think he does. I think he'll give it another season, at least.
Okay, Darren?
Yeah, I feel with Wolves, it's the beginning of the end, as you say. It's a shame. Things under, I don't know his name, Nuno. Under Nuno was, as good as you could ever expect them to get. And play good football, had unbelievable players. Traore's kind of gone off the boil remarkably this season as well. I mean, I don't think he really had consistency to his game. He was just powerful impact player. I did feel like there was maybe a bit too much hype about how good he was. Don't get a good player, but maybe not as good as kind of. I mean, he's in the Spain squad for the Euros. That's a bit of a surprise for me. But yeah, they've been actually really good to watch over the last 2-3 seasons. I've enjoyed them. But yeah, yesterday you could tell end of an era. United second string. I like the look of Elanga. He looked like just one of those centre forwards that's just kind of always just primed to go. Just got always got good positional sense. Feet are ready. Like I thought the Pepe goal yesterday was a fine example of just like that's like what a top class striker does. And obviously in Pepe's case, we've not seen enough of that. But someone who just like turns on a sixpence, weaker foot, half volley, bang, goal. That Elanga kind of reminded me of that type of player. The way attack that header was brilliant. Seem like they've got a lot of good youngsters in reserve. United. As for them more broadly and how they'll do next season, I saw Gary Neville tweeted earlier today about saying if they get Varane, I'm getting this right, Varane, Sancho, and Kane, he's like, we'll win the league. And I just thought, well, I don't even think he would if that happens. I mean, I think Kane is quite suited to Man United. I would quite like to see Kane at Man United. Yeah, and I think it'd be a good signing. And then of course you've got Cavani as a backup.
But would Cavani accept sitting on the bench, mate? Do you think a player of Cavani's standard is going to say, I'm a second string striker?
No, that's the trouble. And it's why it's an interesting purchase. It's a risk as well because he's getting on. Sadly, I mean, he's been amazing in the last recent while. But yeah, I tend to agree. With United, I think they're more like they're nearer to where they should be than they've ever been in the last since Ferguson left, arguably. But still think they need to sort of defence a little bit more, tighten that up. And I do think there is another creative player to be added to the mix somewhere Fernandes is amazing. Greenwood looks sensational. Rashford, obviously, top drawer. But I think this. I don't know. It feels like next season City are still going to be the team to beat. Liverpool are going to come back into. Chelsea are going to get whoever they want, within reason. I think United are going to be in about it, but are they going to get ahead of those guys? Nah, I can't see it.
Okay. The next game is the Fulham Newcastle game. So it was a nice open contest, and Willock again, your boy Ahmed, just cannot stop scoring. Now, I don't think if he goes into your team, he plays the same or he scores as many goals, personally. I don't think the way you play football suits a player like that. And also, the problem you have a little bit with Willock is that you've got Odegaard, Emile Smith-Rowe and Saka all capable of playing where he plays. You've got so much competition for him because he's not a deep line mid, he's slightly more attacking, isn't he? So I think there's so much competition for him to play. So it's very, very hard for him to get into an Arsenal team. He's got those three ahead of him in the first instance. Saint Maximin was an absolute terror all day. He was fantastic in that game. Fulham need goal scorers, and I do wonder if they're going to bounce back straight back up. I don't think they will. I think they are missing the goal scorer, and if they can solve that in the summer, then they will come back up because I think the team's good and I like Scotty Parker. Newcastle next year, do we think they're going to finish top 10? Is what I wanted to ask both of you. And if not, why not? Because they have got the makings. If they keep, again, if Maximin stays, Almiron, if they manage to keep Joe Willock, Shelby stays, it's enough there to maybe be doing a lot better than they have done this year. So, I would go and jump in on that, mate. You seem like
Newcastle finishing top 10. I think if they do manage to sign Willock and add maybe one or two and they keep what they have, yes, it is entirely possible they could finish 9th or 10th, right? Yeah. I don't think that'll happen. I think Willock will obviously go back to Arsenal because they'd be crazy to sell him or even send him out on loan again. A huge club might come in from Sam Maximin, who I think is just he's a. I've always said to you, I think the game's kind of got really boring now. You don't really see flair players anymore. And he's one of those. He's one of those players that, you look forward to going to see, right? I think football has become it's become methodical and a bit cold and sterile recently. So it's just nice to see players like that. Joe Willock, I disagree. I mean, look, Odegaard is on loan from Real Madrid. He's almost certainly going to go back along with Ceballos. So that already frees up 2 spaces. I could see him in the middle alongside Partey or Xhaka, depending.
But he doesn't play that. But he doesn't play that deep, mate. This is the problem. He doesn't.
No, but I'm saying he can adapt. So the reason why I tell you that is because there is a lot of Aaron Ramsey that I see in him.
Okay.
Aaron Ramsey plays. So Aaron Ramsey would either play that deep where the Xhaka role is, or a bit forward where kind of Odegaard, Smith-Rowe play now. Very versatile. But the thing they always do is they can run with the ball, lay off or arrive late into the box and finish off a goal. There was a point in 2014, I think, where Aaron Ramsey scored like 9 straight games or something. He was on a hot streak, doing exactly what Willock is doing. You remember doing exactly what that was a great time for my fantasy football. Literally made him captain every week. Bloody brilliant. almost won the league with him. But yeah, so with the Willock is doing the same thing now. So I disagree. I think if he comes back, he should start. Whether he will or not, I don't know. I don't know what this manager is capable of. I don't know what he's thinking. So who knows? But if he has any sense, he would definitely start him next season.
One thing I'll say, Ramsey, I heard we're linked with Ramsey right now. Because Juve want to get rid of him because he's got high wages and they don't play him. Pirlo doesn't play him anymore. And apparently we're sniffing around him. Now that would be a fantastic Gini replacement. I would take that all day long.
I would say to Arsenal, bring him home.
Yeah.
$500,000 a week.
Yeah, I know you would.
Whatever you want, give it to him.
He's not coming back to you, mate.
If he goes,
he's better than that now. I think he's showing.
He's better than that. Okay, yeah, right.
Well, you're finishing 10th in the league, mate, or 7th or whatever. It's not.
It doesn't matter.
Ramsey's too good for you now. This is the problem.
The heart wants what the heart wants. Well,
your heart wants, and not his.
Steven Gerrard was too good for you for about 9 years, but he's still
too right. You do.
Yeah, exactly. So
about 4 or 5 years, not 9 years. Go on, Darren. Jump into the Newcastle game for us, mate.
So, totally agree on Saint-Maximin and Willock. Like that's the thing. Newcastle do have good players. I did the exact same thing yesterday. I went through the team sheet and I was like, hold on a second. Like this is, Callum Wilson and Ryan Fraser weren't even playing. And it's a Prem team, and I'd add them to my list of teams like Leeds, Aston Villa. I'd put Newcastle in that. They should, given their supporter base, given the kind of appeal of the club, even its recent Premier League history. They should be kind of a mid-table, trying to push for that UEFA Cup spot, Europa League spot, trying to every 10 years getting a cup final, that type of team. And they so often flirt with relegation, and you just think, how does that happen? They do attract good players, and they do actually play quite good football, or have played good football historically. I don't think. I feel for Steve Bruce because I know he gets pelters, but I don't think with him they'll be able to progress any further than where they are at the moment. At 12th is quite an impressive finish for them. But you're right, we're not going to hold on to Willock. I doubt they'll hold on to Saint-Maximin, so it will be a tough season next year. Fulham, it's been a tough one for them as well. No, like out and out striker Mitrovic not really getting the call and all that. I think bouncing back is going to be hard. I think even somebody like, even Tony in the Championship, Ivan Tony, who scored about, he's been hit like 30 goals, and he'll Fulham dropping out, he wouldn't, he'd be the type of player they'd want to buy, but I don't think, one, they'd be able to afford him, and two, would go there. I think he's looking Premier League now, so I think if they're going to find a goal scorer, they're going to have to take a bit of a gamble on someone. And I don't think they're going to get it straight away, so I think things are going to be a bit harder for them dropping out.
Okay, next game is Leeds West Brom, and it was 3-1 to Leeds. Darren, why don't you jump in on that one, mate? Because that's one of your staple clubs, as you say. So,
yeah. I was realising during the match, yes, of course, it was their first time they'd had fans in Elland Road in the Premier League for 16 years, which was must have been quite like an emotional moment for the fans. Leeds have been great to watch. Like Bielsa, obviously, is just like a really entertaining coach and sets the team up really nicely. I think Bamford, one of these players who's kind of been, he was when you've got like 5.6 million left in your fantasy football team, Bamford was always the guy I would get in the hope he would have a good season. He never would. And he was like my third choice striker, and ironically this season he would have done the business, and of course this is a year I didn't have a fantasy football team, so it's not worked out. Great to see him come alive, and I feel like Leeds are back, and provided they can hang on to their manager and maybe make a couple of good signings in the summer, hold on to Jack Harrison, I think it's going to be Leeds are going to be a Premier League club again for a while. I think I don't see any signs of imminent danger. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree with you, Darren. I'm so glad they're back. For me, the Prem isn't the Prem, without Leeds. Like you said, I'd also throw Nottingham Forest into that. I thought they were really, really good. West Brom have kind of been disappointing. For me, that's what you get for sacking Slaven Bilic. For no apparent reason. When he had that team, they actually looked like they could make it. Still early days, but it looked like they had a chance. And then, look where they are now. Patrick Bamford. I think I said to Canal, I think he was scoring loads of goals in the Championship. I think he played in the Prem for Borough. It didn't really look too good. But I knew this time he was going to come and score goals. And Rafinha, I always talk about how good Rafinha is. And if they manage to keep this core together, if Bielsa stays, because I don't know. So I feel like with Bielsa, he's one of those people that's like, no, I'm done with this. I'm going to go somewhere else. Or I'm just going to quit or whatever. He does have a track record there. But if he stays and grows that team, I think they could do a lot better next season.
Interesting. Right. So I was going to ask you guys, is second season syndrome a big possibility here at Leeds? Because I do agree that if Bielsa walks away or there's a bit of fighting and Bielsa's then off for a while and they lose Calvin Phillips, they lose Rodrigo or Rafinha, that then becomes a case of it's not the same team and they've lost a lot of impotence. I think Leeds still being Leeds in this game, obviously they let away a soft goal, and Leeds have been capable of letting in a lot of easy goals all year. So even though they've been very fantastic to watch and exciting and attacking and expansive, they've left the door open a lot of the time. And just as when Sheffield United come to the Prem, they were fantastic in that first year, really creative, really different. And then second season, people found out their system and they got closed off and they got shut down. That could be a possibility for Leeds too. Now, I think Bielsa's too good a manager for that to be the case. And I think their squad is too good for that to be the case. But I think there's a very distinct possibility of that, because I think people do find out systems, and I don't think Bielsa has another way of playing from what I've seen so far. So I don't know. I don't think it's just cut and dry as they'll have a great season. I think if just one or two things go wrong, I think they're in trouble. West Brom, again, I don't think they'll bounce back. Big Sam is a short-term guy. It was pathetic the way he walked out of that, by the way. He just was like, yeah, I'm a short-term manager, so why would I care? This is what I'm known for. I'm here to save clubs, but you didn't save the club, mate. So
exactly.
It's been an unsuccessful time. So commit some more time to it, because you failed at your project. So commit some time and try get them back up, and then leave, and then be a short-term manager again.
If Rafa Benitez can do that with Newcastle, and he's an infinitely better manager than you, Sam, you can do that with West Brom.
Yeah, I love that. Also, Calvin Phillips scored. He's such a classy player, Calvin Phillips, and he did give them their consolation goal, but it was a terrible goalkeeping mistake for his goal. But I like him as a player, and I think he should be starting for England with Declan Rice and Henderson potentially, if you're going to have a bit more Andre against the more ball playing teams. You probably want those three, and then, well, I mean, jumping, that's such an open question, the England team, because there's so many players. 26-man squad, but it is a headache picking that team. There's no two ways about it. I would struggle to pick that team at the best of times.
And you say against ball playing teams, you mean Scotland, right?
Yes, of course. Yeah. Scotland would be. Scotland would be my main concern in that.
Scotland are in the same group as England in the Euros. I think that will be that'll be a tasty game to watch if you're up for it. Darren.
Definitely, absolutely, definitely.
Right, the last game was Sheffield United Burnley. Now, 1-0 Sheffield United, the most pointless game. Sheffield United already relegated. Burnley is safe. It is the most dead rubber of all games.
Yeah.
Who wants to jump in on that, or do you need to just?
I don't really have anything to say about the game, because it was the deadest of dead rubbers. However, I'll say something. Mm-hmm. I think if Sheffield United can get a proven Championship goal scorer next season, they'll come straight back up, because the framework that they have at that club, I know they lost Dean Henderson, but Ramsdale's look fantastic. The back four, the midfield. I think that is a team that will thrive in a champion. They're just missing a championship goal scorer. So if they get one of those, I think they're coming straight back up.
But does McGoldrick, who we've both highlighted as a fantastic player for them,
I do like him, man.
But will he go? He'll get a summer move, I think, to a Prem team.
He could do. If I'm like a Brentford or someone coming up, exactly, or even a Burnley. I know Brentford have Ivan Toney, but imagine having someone like McGoldrick as a backup, definitely. I think they might struggle to hang on to him, but I like McGoldrick.
I mean, for me, Burnley started well, but Sheffield United also played really, really nice stuff in that game. It was nice for them to get a win in front of their home fans. The McGoldrick thing, I do think, again, I think he will go. I think he is perfect for a club like Everton, or, do you know, one of those clubs like Leeds, like just between positions of like 10th and 15th, and he'll bang you some goals. Like any of those clubs, like in and around that position, I think he'd be a fantastic addition to. And I think he'd be a wise buy, because you could get him for relatively, I think, reasonable cash. I don't think you have to spend more than 25 to 30 million at most. And he'd be an addition to any team. So, Darren, how did you see it again?
The second that came on match of the day, I switched it off.
I don't blame you.
Yeah, perfect.
I thought that's it. I couldn't go any further. But to be fair, like, I do feel with I feel a bit disappointed for Sheffield United this season. They were great last season. I thought it was a great story. They're a complete no frills team. They're predominantly I think mostly either UK or Irish players as well.
Yeah.
So they haven't been terribly clever in the transfer market. Well, arguably they have been incredibly clever, I suppose, in the sense that they bought homegrown and kind of crafted a team. There's no unbelievable flair there. I like the look of Jebison as a centre forward, 17 and leading the line. That's exciting. Probably too much to expect for him next season to be able to fire them back into the Prem, but they've obviously got a lot of hope for him. And I like his. He looks like a centre forward as well, like in terms of his movement, and it looks like he's going to be a good player for him. So that's interesting. But that was kind of the Burnley Sheffield United's last, as you say, I'm a dead rubber. It was one for that's when the remote got handed, things switched off.
Oh yeah.
Right, so that was all the games. That's the last of this year's season, which is a shame. But before we're going to end this podcast, we're going to talk about Tierney versus Robert. Now, I'm not going to start us off on this one. I'm open to either one of you to sign up. I have my facts, I've got my points, I know what I want to say. So, Ahmed or Darren, either one of you, whoever wants to take the mic, you let me know. Darren, you're probably the best person to talk about it because you've got the Scottish background, influence, and knowledge.
Yeah, well, the thing I'd say about these two, right, is I very rarely make a recommendation on a player when I see them as a youngster, because it's such a hard thing to do, particularly when it's a Scottish youngster and there hasn't been like a pedigree necessarily for the last 20 years of players coming through, you know. And I saw James McFadden, I thought he looks like he could probably play in the Prem. It was hard to tell how good he's going to be, so it wasn't like, when he signed for Everton, my mate was an Everton fan, I was like, I think it'd be a good signing for him, but it wasn't like he's going to the top. I was just like, I think that's probably his level. And Robertson and Tierney, saw both of them early doors, saw both of them in the flesh, and when I saw both times, I was like, they're going to the top. And that's like rare that for me to make that call and be right. I'm not usually right with that call. But I love the debate because I think they are quite, although they're completely vying for the same position, play the same way in a lot of respects. They're quite different as well. I love them both. I think they're amazing. What if I was going to talk about who's better? It's an incredibly hard argument for me to actually pick one. But I will, because there's no fun in not. But how I would pick, kind of lay them up side by side is, I feel like Robertson, they've both got ridiculous engines, they've both got great left foots, they're both kind of, you know, very forward minded and attacking. They make quick decisions when they've got the ball, and they can also defend. Where I would say the differentials maybe come in are, I think Tierney has to defend more in his role. Robertson has to play maybe a bit higher up. I'd say Tierney seems to be able to adapt more to kind of changing circumstances. Like in the Scotland team, we play a back three to accommodate both Tierney and Robertson. So Robertson will play left of a five-man midfield, or it'll drop to a five defence when we're obviously we've not got the ball. And Tierney plays the left of a back three, and I know he's done that at Arsenal and he's done that well. In the last game we played, okay, it was against the Faroe Islands, but Tierney got 3 assists from centre half. You know, like he just was bombing forward, supporting Robertson. You know, and Robertson got the other assist. We won 4-0, and I think that Tierney has got like adaptability that and can get better. Robertson, I feels like at like almost maybe the next 2 years, it's like going to be his peak, and then we might start to see him trail off a bit. But I don't think we've seen how good Tierney's going to get. So, by way of kind of throwing a stick of dynamite into the conversation, I would say I think Robertson currently, given what he's achieved in the game, is better. But I think Tierney can be better.
Oh, okay.
That would be
You have literally taken the words right out of my mouth. That's exactly what I was going to say, but you said it more eloquently and obviously coming from a place of authority. I mean, yeah, I agree with you. They both, it's obvious to say, but a left back needs a great left foot. You can't, there are some that are kind of double-footed or maybe a bit dodgy on the left. That both of them are fantastic. Both of them can get forward and score goals and assist the attack. Both of them can defend as well. I think Tierney is probably a better one-on-one defender, but that's because, like you said, he's had to, because at Arsenal, you're defending most of the time now. With us, he's played in, just like in Scotland, so he's played in a back three. He's been the left side of a back three, and Saka has played on that at that left back position. So very similar to the way he plays for Scotland. I think at the moment, Robbo does edge it. I agree with you. I think Robbo edges it. I just think, he is slightly older, but I think Robbo at the moment offers you more. And I don't know whether that. And it's like a Rizzler paper in between. The margins are so tight. I just think at the moment, if I'm thinking with my head, I would pick Robertson. But like you said, I think Kieran Tierney's potential, if he isn't hampered by injuries, which he has suffered quite a lot. His first season was ravaged by injuries, barely kicked a ball for us. I think if he stays injury-free, not only is he going right to the top, he could be one of the best in the game in that position, and he could surpass Robertson. But that's a big if.
First off, I'm so surprised, Ahmed, with your response there. I thought your heart would take it, as you say all the time. You'd be a terrible manager. You just pick the people you like rather than who's the most effective on the pitch. Your famous line. So let me just read off this year's stats to you, because I think Robbo's this year, you would say, has not had his best year in what we've seen so far. It's definitely something I think it's not a wrong thing to say about him. This year, Tierney's had 2 goals and 4 assists. Robbo's had 1 goal and 7 assists. So slightly more output from Robbo. Not by much, but just a touch. Pass completion rate, pretty similar. Tierney was 77% this season and Robbo was 82%. So he still comes out slightly ahead there. I think the trophy cabinets, if you want to look at that, Tierney's won more stuff overall, because he obviously is playing for a successful Celtic side. He won 4 league titles. He won 2 Scottish Cup, 2 League Cups, an FA Cup at Arsenal, and he's won the Community Shield at Arsenal. Obviously, Robbo won Prem, won Champions League, won Super Cup, won World Cup. So although Tierney's won more, they've not been as big a pots or as respected pots as the one Robbo's won. What I will say, I think, is, for me, I actually think Tierney's the better technical player than Robbo in my eyes. I think he's better at crossing the ball. I think he's more composed in those situations. But what I think Robbo offers more of is he's more explosive. I think Robbo's a bit more of a leader as well. I think when you watch Robertson, he winds up other players. He supports the team so much. He is a captain and he's a leader. And I think whilst Tierney's a fantastic player, he's not. Well, I've not seen that side of it as much. I'm sure he does show elements of it at Arsenal. I'm sure he does. But if you look at Robbo, I would say personally, if you look at Robbo's the way he behaves, that's why he got the Scotland captain role, because of the way he does behave around his team, and he is a captain too. More so in my eyes. Otherwise, he wouldn't be Scotland captain. I think he knocks on the Liverpool captain's door as well. I think.
I just think Kieran Tierney is probably a bit too young at the moment to be Scotland captain, and considering there are other more experienced players in that squad, I get that. But I'm telling you, he is going to be a future Arsenal captain. He's basically de facto captain now, as we speak. Oba is not really a captain. He doesn't really show his qualities. Xhaka does, but he's shit. It doesn't really work. Like, if you're a captain, you have to be good, and you have to show, like, you have to G up the players. You have to. You have to be the one that kind of organizes the defense, and he does all that for us. So it's only a matter of time before, I think, as soon as Oba leaves, he's been made captain, no question.
Okay. So I think for me, overall, if I was to pick one, it would be Robbo. I think my heart would always be Robbo, because I think what he's done, the impact he's had. I think also for me as well, which just edges it for me with Robbo over Tierney, is that Robbo, and I think Tierney actually did hit the ground running when he came to Arsenal too. But I think Robbo was just so explosive when he comes to Liverpool. It's the first thing. And I think him and Trent were redefining the roles of being fullback in so many assists, so attacking, so forward, up and down more than any other player. And I think that is more attributed to Trent and Robbo rather than Tierney being that guy. So I think overall it would be Robbo. But I do agree. I think it's so paper thin, personally. I think Tierney has so much potential. I don't disagree with you. I don't think personally Tierney will hit the same heights as Robbo, and just purely on the reason of I just think, and no offense to Arsenal here, obviously, don't take it that way, but I don't think for the next 4 or 5 years, I don't think you're going to be like winning league titles or winning Champions League. Not for the next 4 or 5 years anyway. You might start building and competing again, but I don't think you'll win things. Bless you, win things in that time. And I think that's what will hamper Tierney, is that if he does want to be more successful and take his game to another level, I think he has to leave Arsenal and play for a team that's actually going to be winning consistently. He could walk into the City team, mate. They don't have a left back. He's better than Cancelo. He's much better than Cancelo.
Our days of selling our best players to City are over. I don't care.
No, they might be over. But I mean, he is much better than Cancelo, and he'd walk into that team. So that's what I mean. I think if he wants to surpass Robbo, he needs to go to a club that's going to help him achieve that. And I don't think that's possible at Arsenal.
I disagree.
Of course you do. You're an Arsenal fan. There's no thing. Go on, Darren. What did you want to say?
I feel like the thing that he's got is he's loyal. I think he won't. Like I would imagine, he didn't really want to leave Celtic. He just had. There was never. He had to leave. One, because it was like he'd been offered more money than anyone had ever offered them before. 25 million, I think they offered, which in Scottish terms is ridiculous. And then. Yeah, obviously, like moving to Arsenal, you can see he gets the club. Like, I mean, I'm probably not the Ahmed. You probably you'll know far more about that than me. Yeah, and you can see how supporters have warmed to him, and he's got his attitude's insane. You know, like, and not even just like training. You know, that's obviously quite a joke. He always just trains in his like shorts, even in the snow and stuff like that. And all the other players have got their snoods on and their leggings, and he's just out there in shorts and t-shirt. But he has that kind of fire in him. He's like he kind of knows what it means to supporters, and he kind of represents the club on the pitch. And you know, I've heard him like there's been some brilliant like audible lines when the fans weren't in the stadium where you've heard him just like giving pelters and like swearing at folk, and it's like he gives a shit and he really cares. And you know, and that's the type of player. As you say, Ahmed, do you think he'll probably be captain in potentially in the next couple of years? I could see that, and if Kenny Philfield was made captain, he would take it so seriously, and I think it would take a lot for him to leave. But it would be this. It might end. I hope it won't, but it could be a similar situation where there reaches that point where it's like literally there's a bid on the table and it's like they can't turn it down, kind of thing. Possibly, but by that point, you just hope that Arsenal are contending in the way they used to. So
exactly, yeah.
I mean, okay, but this is but that's kind of my point, is that you're hoping they start competing, and if they don't, where's the plateau from that? He is a fantastic left back, and he should be very, very successful. He as his ability dictates. Like if you look at it, when you look at left backs in the Premier League, I would just say it's probably Robbo than him, and then I'd put Luke Shaw below that, and I would say genuinely, I would say it's kind of like that between him and Tierney all the time, like week on week is like that. So again, like, and that's fantastic, but players like that deserve to be at the highest levels of the game, competing and winning stuff.
Well, there's still time for him. There's still time for him.
Yeah, how old is he? 23, 24?
It's 23, yeah.
He's 23, right? So he's 23 years old. So yeah, so if he stays at Arsenal for 3-4 years, gets to 27.
If he gets to that stage and we're still the same, he has every right to leave. Honestly.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah. So, wow, it looks like everyone's gone with Robbo for the choice, but not by much. By the looks of it, obviously, with Darren's saying that essentially Tierney will be the better player, depending on
fitness. Yeah, fitness will be a big thing as well. Keeping fit and a lot of injuries. I just checked; it's his birthday next week. He's 24, so
okay.
We're delighted to know that we've marked him. We've marked him as the second best Premier League left back.
Do you know, funnily, what I read today, actually? A quote from Robbo saying, I fucking hate the comparison between me and Tierney, so neither of them will be too happy with it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, get an angry phone call or not.
They absolutely hate it.
I bet, because they're probably mates, and they think two Scottish lads that are mates playing the same position, just like, leave us alone. Like, we don't want to be having this argument about ourselves. Yeah, fair play.
Totally. Absolutely.
Well, that's the end of the episode. That's the end of our podcast. So no more for this season. Potentially joining you for some Euros thing. I don't know, Ahmed, what your schedule's going to dictate, but definitely for the next season.
I believe.
TBD, as ever. But we'll be back next season, hopefully. So watch your space for that. We'll have some more calls, more guests, all the usual stuff. So thank you very much for joining us at the end of episode 13. We'll see you soon.
See ya.
Cheers, guys.